Alrighty then, so let's tackle the Riddick trilogy, shall we? We've got Pitch Black starring Vin Diesel, The Chronicles of Riddick starring Vin Diesel, and Riddick starring Vin Diesel. 15 years of action, horror, sci-fi installments. The first one being released in '99. 5 years later we got Chronicles, and 10 years later after that we've got Riddick. Now, the only one that I've ever seen in its entirety before these reviews, or before recently I should say, was Pitch Black. And it was alright, but it wasn't so great at the time, I found, that it intrigued me to check out any of the others. When Chronicles of Riddick came out, I didn't really care all that much. And then Riddick came out later on, and I'm like, oh, another one. These must be taking off, making money. But although Riddick from the previews and the trailers seemed a lot better than Chronicles did, it still just kind of went over the radar for me. It wasn't anything I seeked out. I know they made like a either one or a few video games off of it, and all kinds of spin-offs, and I had one buddy that was all over these films, and like I said, I always found the character pretty cool, played by Vin Diesel, but Pitch Black just didn't sell me enough for me to really want to check out the others. But recently, since they started releasing like the 4K, they released the 4K on Arrow of Pitch Black, and the Blu-ray started to go for pretty cheap. I'm like, I like B movies, and these seem like really elevated B movies, and ones that would be worthwhile checking out, especially if I could find the Blu-rays for like $5 or $10. And I hadn't revisited Pitch Black in so long either, so I'm like, you know what? I'll watch the first. If it's better than I remember, I'll check out the rest. It was better than I remembered, and it just intrigued me to watch the others, so I'm like, let's do a trilogy review. So that's exactly what we are going to do, starting with Pitch Black. Like I said, released in 1999, just as Pitch Black. They do call it The Chronicles of Riddick Pitch Black now, but it basically follows this prisoner who's being held captive in a ship, and the film starts off right away where the ship is crash landing onto this planet. And there's kind of a narration. Once they crash land on the planet, you get introduced to the characters of the film, mainly Fry, or first name Carolyn, but everybody calls this woman Fry. She's played by Radha Mitchell, who is familiar to me and probably to a lot of people in the Silent Hill films, Silent Hill and Silent Hill Revelations, playing Rose Da Silva in those films. And she's an Australian actress, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely not American. She is doing an American accent in this film, but it was one of her earlier films, so the accent isn't super sellable, but you notice here and there that she's trying. But she got better at it. She definitely nails it in the Silent Hill films, but this is like 5 years before those, so. So you're introduced to all the characters. You got Imam, who is he's basically a Muslim character looking for new Mecca, as they claim in the film. He's not a priest, but he's a religious symbol in the Muslim faith, and he's basically looking for a new world kind of thing. Johns is a big character, kind of going head to head with Carolyn. They have a lot of character arcs as the film progresses. They're kind of like, they're always butting heads kind of thing. You get this kid, which I'll get very much into later on in the discussion, named Jack, and he's basically got this shaved head, and he seems like a bratty little kid. He's always looks like, or seems like, the troublemaker kind of thing. And yeah, so basically they're all after Riddick, because when the crash land Riddick escapes, they get a hold of him and they tie him, like they cuff him basically again in the ship while they're trying to figure out a means of escape. But Riddick obviously has a lot of experience and a lot of skills when it comes to being a rebellious mercenary, would you call him, or a rebellious criminal, you could say. Obviously, he's had a lot of notches in his prison belt and being an escaped convict more than once. So he ends up kind of fooling everybody. And there's actually a lot of scenes where it's kind of weird because he'll be in plain sight but nobody can see him or find him. It's kind of ridiculous sometimes. Like there's this scene where everybody's looking for him and then the camera just zooms into him and he's maybe 20 feet away, just kicking back, relaxing with he's like sipping on some water or something like that. He's got his leg crossed and he's just chilling and nobody seems to, everybody seems so hard pressed to find out where he is. And I just found that kind of funny but silly because it's like, how do you not see him? He's right there. Anyway, they start to explore this planet. This planet is clearly a wasteland. They start to dwell into some caves. One of their crew members, Zeke or Zeke, I don't know how you pronounce it, an Australian guy. He ends up dying in one of these crevices that are in the dunes or whatnot, and they think it's Riddick, of course, but it ends up being some of the creatures on this planet. And what they find out is that this planet has 3 suns, which looks really cool. Visually, this film looks fantastic. And that there is an eclipse supposed to be happening soon, and it's going to basically darken the entire planet. And as the film goes on, they find out that these creatures are kind of hunters during the dark, and that they are in loads of danger. Now, Riddick has this ability / power, which he kind of, what would you say? I want to say developed, but that's the wrong word. Inherited, I guess, where he's really good at seeing in the dark, basically. He has these glowing eyes. He cannot do light. That's why he has the sunglasses. Light really affects his eyesight, and it's painful towards him because every little bit of light he can process with his eyes. So in the dark he's really skilled at seeing what other people can't see, but in the light it's basically like his eyes are burning kind of thing. So he ends up being a huge help to help this crew survive and try to find a way off this planet. I like this entry the best. It's definitely sci-fi horror. I love that aspect of it. You get some vibes from Alien a bit. I'm not going to sit here and compare these films to Alien at all, but because it's a sci-fi on another planet, because you have a shit ton of aliens that can fly that kind of resemble, like they look more like hammerheads, but they're all black and they're able to maneuver underground and fly, and they pose a really huge threat for sure. And like I said, visually there's a lot of cool scenes with the CGI. That it's a little CGI heavy, but it's done properly, and the vibes and the feels of this film are spot on. It's a lot of fun too. Like, it's not too big of an area or a plot, so it kind of feels isolated, even though it's a wasteland. It still feels pretty isolated and pretty horrifying for a location. There's a lot of cool color corrections in this film too. There will be scenes where it's very bluish, and then it'll go to another scene where it's very reddish, and I think they're trying to symbolize, hots and colds kind of thing, to elevate the mood of whatever scene is going on, and I find that cool. Along with some light tricks, I find the color corrections that they did with this film are pretty neat. They start to realize that there was a population on this planet that seems to have been wiped out, assumably from these creatures. There's a scene where Riddick is shaving his head and he's using like a blade and motor oil, and I found that pretty badass because it really shows how you know rogue he is and how able to adapt into any environment he is pretty much. One thing about Jack, I don't know why. To me, he was not a boy. He's she's clearly a girl. She has a shaved head and she is posing as a boy so she could serve with this crew because she assumed that if they knew she was a girl, they would like leave her behind or whatnot. And she's basically a tomboy. She wants to serve with these people, but nobody until the third act where Riddick was in on it all along. Not in on it, but he knew all along that it wasn't a boy, and he was kind of just playing along that the rest of the crew thought it was. And I'm like, how is this being played for? Because she, like, right from the get go, she never sold me as a guy. I'm like, wait, that's supposed to be a boy? Is it a girl playing it? And it was. The actress is an actress. She's a girl. But I was just like, who is she fooling? This crew must be the most gullible crew on the planet. No pun intended on the planet. But yeah, Jack was I never Jack never sold me as a boy, right from the get go. Maybe it did to some people. I don't know, but just thought I'd mention that. And yeah, just I think the fight sequences are really cool. There's this really cool scene involving one of the priests named not one of the priests, but a priest that's in the crew. His name is Paris, and everything is pitch black. And then he uses this lighter and some alcohol to blow into the lighter to make this huge ass flame. And with the flame, you see him surrounded by like 10 alien beasts. And then it goes all pitch black again, and you kind of know his fate from there. So yeah, I find scenes like that in this film really kind of breathtaking, really cool. So it knows what it wants to be, and that's what I love most about this film. And it plays its cards really well, and it's a good entry in the sci-fi horror genre because not a lot of films are a good blend of sci-fi and horror. You either get one or the other, and this one does a really great job making a sci-fi horror film with just a splash of action. And for anybody who's seen the other two films, obviously they go straight up with the action. This one really keeps it grounded in a sci-fi horror film, and I really appreciated that a lot. Now, Chronicles of Riddick, the second film, goes right up to 11, pulls off an entire spinal tap. Pulls off a spinal tap and a half. This one gives me a lot of vibes of like Matrix Reloaded, where you have the Matrix and you have this fantastic story, and then Matrix Reloaded just decides to amp everything up so heavily with plot and with new directions and with new things going on, new characters, not just one or two, but like 25. And just like it has that Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions problem, I would say. Although it's not a bad film, like this one did it a little bit better than the Matrix sequels did, but it still goes way too balls to the wall and tries to tackle way too many things. And I think at the time when it came out in 2004, it wasn't ready for the CGI it needed, and that also kind of had a little effect on the film as well. But you follow Riddick, and Chronicles of Riddick is a good title for it because it follows him meeting up with Imam, the Muslim religious symbol from the first film, on this planet called Helion Prime. And on Helion Prime, basically it's people follow one religion, you could say. And there's this enemy called necromongers, who the necromonger is basically a religion in their own, and they want to convert the universe. Really, that's their goal. They have this whole heaven place that they believe in called the Underverse, and they're basically one evil where it's Judi Dench is in this film too. I should mention from the Bond films, the woman who plays M. I liked seeing her here because I really like her as an actress. But as soon as she starts doing the narration at the beginning of the film, I was like, oh shit, that's her. I like that. And she plays Arion, I think, and she's a being, but she for the majority of the film is basically in spirit because her soul can transfer from place to place. But going back to the necromongers, yeah, basically they want to invade everything. Spoiler alert, I'm from the first film, and this one pretty much dies close to the beginning. And then it basically introduces this war, basically between evil and evil, and that's mentioned too. When good can't triumph over evil because the evil is too strong, it takes another kind of evil to destroy it. So that's where Riddick and his kind, the Furians, have to go up against these I keep wanting to say Necronomicon, I'm sorry, necromongers. That's the thing with sci-fi films too. Sci-fi and fantasy usually end up having so many names to things that it's so hard to keep track of. Like when it comes to fantasy and sci-fi, sometimes I have to watch a film 3 or 4 times just to remember everything. So yeah, main baddies in this one, necromongers. And you learn that Riddick is a prophet basically and has a prophecy for who he is with the Fury. There I go again. The Furian. He's a Furian. And the leader of the necromongers is Lord Marshall. And you've got this other character named Vaco who's trying to basically become leader, or he's trying to basically become the next one. That's what his life goal and mission is to be. And he has this his wife who's named Dame Vaco, who I know the actress who plays her. I just got to look it up, so I'll be posting that in the bottom. But I do know her. I'm just blanking on her name. But I believe she was in Crash. Anyway, she's always, trying to push him and put him down, that he's not working hard enough to become the next lord and whatnot. And it follows that plot with this big war that kind of turns into, again, a Matrix sequel. You get Lord of the Rings vibes because there's these guys or these soldiers in, all metal and stuff like that. And there's these big battle scenes, along with a plot involving Riddick being captured again by this guy named Toombs and being taken back to the prison planet Crematoria that he was originally captured and taken to, like, before the first film. So half the film is this massive epic battle, and then the other half of the film is Riddick trying to escape this prison planet, where he does run into this girl whose name in this film is Kira, who was Jack in the first one. So Kira returns. It's a different actress playing the girl who was Jack. She was still called Jack in the first film. She didn't have a girl's name. But she's back here, played as a different actress, and good God, did they get the right actress to play her. Holy damn, this girl's hot. And really good. Like, her banter with Riddick is pretty cool. So him and her and a couple other prisoners are trying to escape the planet, and his mission is to go, which the prophecy, entitles him to go defeat the necromongers. And it's neat. Like I said, I think the only thing that holds this film back mostly is the CGI that it wasn't ready for, and the overflow of plots, really, and so many things and characters going on at once. But even with that, like there's some panthers, like in the prison, that they use as, well, they say feeding time, so they feed a lot of prisoners to these panthers, and the panthers look pretty cool as CGI, like filled as they are. The final fight with Riddick and Lord Marshall, it's totally reminiscent to a video game. Lord Marshall is able to like flash jump and like end up in different places where you see the stream of his body kind of go from one place to the next. It really feels like video game-esque, pretty much. There's some really cool scenes involving Riddick escaping capture, which he's basically an escape artist. So that's really cool to see. The fighting scenes are great. All the choreography is fantastic. And it ends pretty well, obviously leading up to a sequel. And I like how he becomes the lord of this one at the end and takes on the throne, leading straight up to a third. Now, it took 10 years to make that third, but they certainly did, and they certainly did improve on the CGI. They were ready for the CGI when it came to Riddick. And I like Riddick and Pitch Black kind of the same. I gave both those films a 4 out of 5, and then I gave The Chronicles of Riddick a 3 out of 5. Just because, like I said, too much with little preparation for the execution. I don't know. I think they should have tamed it down a little bit. Kind of make it where it's a sequel to Pitch Black, but I think they had too many balls to juggle, like simply put. But that's not to say that it was horrible either. So, but Riddick definitely gave it the proper sequel that both films really needed. So in Riddick, you've got Riddick as the new Lord, and he is tricked into being taken to another wasteland planet and left for dead. And he's been living on this planet for, I'd say, like 10 years. So he knows the ins and outs of it. He's able to survive because there's all these monsters and creatures on this planet. And it's left for debate to say, because I'm not exactly sure if it was the same planet from Pitch Black, from the first film, just because on this planet there's also some eclipses that makes it go completely dark. So it's never confirmed what the name of the planet is or where it is, because he was just tricked to go there because he was told that they were going to be taking him to Furia, and he fell for it and then was dumped on this planet. But after years of surviving on this planet, there basically comes these two ships. One is by a bunch of bounty hunters who want him dead for a reward, and the other ship, it turns out to be somebody from his past, Big Daddy John's, and wanting to, like, they have pretty much bad history together because Riddick in the past was involved with a bunch of murders of what is considered innocents, and Riddick all along he's basically rogue. He's an anti-hero. He only fends for himself, which is cool for a character like he is, and he really just doesn't give a shit about anybody else. He doesn't fall into categories. He doesn't fall into this film does deal with religion a lot. He doesn't fall into any in particular. He doesn't fall into good and evil. He just doesn't he has no label. He's just Riddick. He's just the guy who believes in what he believes in and does what he wants to do. And I find that cool in a character, especially one as badass as Riddick. So it's basically these two teams wanting to take Riddick down, and Riddick fighting for survival and trying to get off the planet along with everybody else. So that's cool, and they toned up the CGI in this one for sure. All the choreography and all the action is much better, much more well done. There is some humor and some human-like moments that they throw in, like he's raising like a little puppy in this one, and he's really making friends with this dog-like creature that's being raised from a baby. And there's actually one cool scene where he rescues this puppy while slicing open this one monster's belly by sliding right underneath it, and going out the other side. And this monster is like it's pretty gory too. His innards are falling out, and then the monster just starts eating his own innards. So I found that pretty cool. Full frontal nudity in this film too. Not mentioned in the back, which I was surprised because I'm like, oh, full frontal. You get tits and pussy and everything. It just, oh, not that. This guy. Yeah, 18A for brutal violence and gory scenes. If you didn't know, there's some vag in that film too. Right at the first 10 minutes. It's awesome. Awesome. And yeah, it's a really tense, really action-packed sequel, and one that fits Pitch Black as a sequel a lot more than Chronicles of Riddick fit. Chronicles, you could almost call Chronicles of Riddick a spin-off, although it fits as a sequel. I'm not saying it's not, but you can almost call it a spin-off by how it plays out and everything. One of the characters too in Riddick, one of the leader of the bounty hunters, his name is Santana. Total douchebag, total ruthless fuckhead who he actually, I love the scenes involving him and the girl doll from the other team. They're always going at it because he has no respect for this chick that's in this team at all. He doesn't want to take any commands from her, and she's always mentally and physically fucking him up. I like that. I like that a lot. Their characters were well built. But anyways, this douchebag Santana, his death is awesome. I like how Riddick is chained up and held down and captive, and he basically kicks a machete to slice half his face off, and then kicks over a box so the part of Santana's head falls into the box. It's funny because Riddick for the longest time was calling Santana Box Boy because he assumed that Santana was sent over to this planet to collect Riddick's head and put it in a box, so he ends up slicing Santana's head off and his head falling into a box. I found that really, really funny and really cool writing. Awesome stuff on that. And the ending of Riddick, again, sets up for another sequel, and I am in no doubt prepared for a Riddick 4 because I had a lot of fun with this trilogy, and especially revisiting it because, as I said, Pitch Black is the only one I've seen in its entirety, and I've seen it so long ago. And the other two I didn't see at all outside of trailers and maybe a clip here and there. But yeah, like, they're really well done. I like the weapon of choice that Riddick uses too. And how survivalistic he is in this world. The world building is really good too. But Pitch Black holds my favorite just because of the isolation of, like, how grounded it is, really. And the isolation of its themes and sticking to sci-fi horror and not going too hard on the popcorn action kind of thing. But yeah, I'd say favorite, and then second favorite, which is more of an expansion on the themes of Pitch Black, and then third favorite, which is a huge, vast, like you could call it spin-off of taking the character and then just building a huge ass world with it. Instead of keeping it grounded like the first and the third did. But you know, if you just had the first and the third and the second didn't exist, it'd still be great. But the second, it just it's not that it doesn't belong, but it's just feels the most different than in the trilogy. Yeah, so that's it. That's the trilogy. I recommend all three. I just finished saying, you know, which one I like best, which one I like worst. But they're all good. They're all great. They're worthwhile having in the collection, I think. And I mean, they're easy revisits because a lot of it, once you've seen it multiple times, you could just turn your brain off and just have fun with them. And yeah, they're worth a watch. So that's the Riddick trilogy. That's my opinions on the Riddick trilogy, and I loved all of it. So I am Morgan Film Fan. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like listening to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. There will be plenty more coming as always. And until next time, have a good night and cheers.